Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Well, everybody, it is a picture-perfect day here at Lakeside Stadium. The sun is out, not a cloud in the sky, only to our far left here at Lakeside Stadium. The boats are out as well on Lakeside Lake, which is good. However, football is about to be kicked underway here for round 19 of the NPL women's season between South Melbourne Hellas and the Essendon Royals. This is a big game for the Essendon Royals because, well, if they get this win here today, it will propel them up the ladder and really cement their place in finals. They are in the top four right now, very comfortably so, ahead of Alamein. However, I'm sure they would love to finish ahead of the FC Balleen Lions, who are currently third on the standings. And for South Melbourne, well, they are virtually out of the running for finals, and they would love to upset Essendon here at Lakeside Stadium in what should be an absolute thriller. South Melbourne 6th on the table, 31 points, 8 wins, 7 draws, 5 losses. The Essendon Royals 4th on the table with 38 points, 12 wins, 2 draws and 6 losses. It'll be interesting to see which one of these two teams can walk away the victors. Looking at the lineups for you, 4 changes for South Melbourne from their previous clash that they had. Out is Olivia Bomford, Olivia Edwards, Nikki Furukawa, and Ayana Ayogi. In comes Christina Esposito, back in goals, along too with Akeisha Sandhu, Grace Taranto, and Isabel Racco. And the one change for the Essendon Royals is Rebecca Van Dort is out, and in will come Alana Cerny. So looking at the full lineup for South Melbourne is in goal, Christina Esposito. Number 3, Annabelle Haffenden. Number 7, the captain, Francesca Iamano. Number 8, Akeisha Sandhu. Number 14, Misha Westland. Number 19, Tyler Vlainic. Number 20, Alana Byrne. Number 22, Grace Taranto. Number 24, Eva Goodsmith. Number 47, Alexis Pantasopoulos. And number 40, Isabel Racco. And for the Essendon Royals, we have number 2, Emma Langley. Number 4, the captain, Michaela Jurcic. Number 6, Sasha Curry. Number 8, Devon Jackson. Number 12, Kobe Wilbert. Number 14, Amy Parkinson. Number 16, Olivia Wood. Number 20, Kendra Smith. Number 21, in goal, Zara Board. Number 22, Alana Cerny. And number 27, Alicia Bresciano. Those are the lineups for this clash here at Lakeside Stadium. As I mentioned, the sun has come out in full swing here in Melbourne. Normally we're used to seeing rain and all sorts, but this time round, since we are slowly getting to the end of the winter months, we are going to have beautiful weather to conclude our season here. And a glorious setting it is here at Lakeside Stadium. South Melbourne Hellas taking on the Essendon Royals. This is the 6th meeting between these two sides. The Essendon Royals leads the head-to-head 2-1 with 2 draws in between them as well. With the first game being played back in 1999 on the 18th of April. A little bit of history there. That game ended up in a 1-1 draw between them. And we're all the way here now, all this time later. South Melbourne, their only win that they had against the Essendon Royals was the very next game straight after that. On the 27th of June, they ended up getting a 4-2 win. That was the biggest win that they've had in all of their history together. So we'll see who can walk out on top. Can we have a replica of that one? Maybe Essendon Royals might have something to say about it, considering they've had a season and a half Their last 5 games, they've had 5 wins. South Melbourne, their last 5 games, they started off 3 losses and then had a win against the Preston Lions here. All came down to the wire and then a draw, but already we can see Emma Lange trying to push up here for the Essendon Royals. And what can they make do of it this time here? Lange again. Ball still up forwards. Up in the forward third. Essendon Royals wearing their white shirt and red shorts. And South Melbourne wearing the traditional blue kit. South Melbourne kicking to the right of your screen. Essendon Royals kicking to your left. And we are in for an absolute banger here this afternoon. Which team can walk out on top? These two teams on paper are relatively close. The last time these two teams did play out, it was the Essendon Royals that did get a 3-0 victory at Cross Keys Reserve earlier this year, back in round 10. I'm sure South Melbourne would love to respond in a big way. Obviously, they are a completely different team since that occasion. Really made use of that mid-season transfer, bringing in the likes of Eva Kokotis, Eva Goodsmith, who's currently on the football right now, bringing in Heidi Dalton, all young prospects from the FV Academy. And then also bringing in Tyler Vlinich, a former Melbourne City player in the A-League women's competition. Spent quite a lot of time playing for Melbourne City, along to spend the last 2 seasons before her most recent season in Melbourne City, playing for Western United as well. One of the vital players for Melbourne City. Contributed to 4 championships and 2 premiership plates. So watch out for her once she gets out on the ball. Smith getting involved. She had a good outing last time out when the Essendon Royals took on FV Academy in the engine room. I'm sure she'd love to replicate how that game went last time. The feeling out stage isn't going to happen between these two. The sprinkler was on as these two teams were warming up. Not sure if South Melbourne loved the sprinkler being on. The sprinkler decided to pop up right when they made their way out on the pitch. Some of the ladies were a little bit concerned, but nevertheless, though, pitch is in beautiful knit condition. We'll go through all our officials here as well at Lakeside Stadium for you. Our referee headed today is Jackson Trundle. Our assistant referee 1 is Helena Panayotidis. Our assistant referee number 2 is Labrina Uliaris. And our 4th official is Nicoletta Soteriopoulos. So shout out to them. They are in control of this one. I'm sure they'll do a great job. So what is South Melbourne going to muster up? Obviously South Melbourne only a couple of weeks ago managed to capture their first ever Nike FC Cup. Brought it back here to Lakeside Stadium. Crazy to think that since the Nike FC Cup was first introduced, this is their first ever time winning it. Compared to the men, since the Doherty Cup has been around for quite some time. South Melbourne men's team capturing their 10th Doherty Cup championship. Becoming the most winningest Doherty Cup team out there. Funny how both of the teams, the men's and the women's South Melbourne teams, were both down 1-0, trailing to both Heidelberg United squads. The men's managed to walk away with it. Campbell Dovison managing to kick the 2 goals for them. Actually started on the bench, made his way on that second half. And what a job he did for them. And then obviously the women's the Nike FC Cup going right down to the wire in the penalty shootout. Terrific game that one was. Went to the full time. We needed the extra time as well to complete it, but went to penalties. And star of the show, Ayana Aoyagi, who isn't starting today, however, did a brilliant job in goals. It's definitely her moment. Christina Esposito, as I mentioned, is back in goals, however, so Ayana will be on the bench. However, she can definitely be happy with the impact that she made while Christina was out. Definitely helped this South Melbourne team. And South Melbourne already going to look to try and press up and hit the side of the netting. And the first shot of the afternoon. The last time that these two teams played, South Melbourne were only held to 5 shots, 3 of which were on target. So they'll definitely want to really improve on that if they do want to give themselves any chance of really being in this football game. Last time out, as I mentioned, they ended up going down 3-0 in that one. I'm sure with the way that they've been playing, they've had a whole heap of confidence after that Nike FC Cup win last week. Had a 3-3 draw against Bulleen, who are currently sitting in 3rd, who are actually trying to extend their lead over Essendon. So we'll see what Essendon can really muster up here. I'm sure they'd love to also get a win, get up over the Essendon Royals. Sorry, get up over Bulleen. We did have a couple games that did happen yesterday, I believe. Box Hill ended up getting a 1-0 victory over Spring Hills. Obviously, we have 3 games going on at the moment. This being one of them. We've got Alamein taking on the Bentley Greens and Brunswick Juventus taking on the Preston Lions as well. Those 3 games are happening as we speak. We'll give you any updates that may come in terms of goals and how we may affect one another. Obviously later on, we're going to have Heidelberg United take on the Bulleen Lions, and then FV Academy taking on the Boroondara Carry Eagles. So a big weekend of football. This is also the final round of the NPL men's competition. All the games have kicked off at 3. We'll try and also provide you with some updates there if anything shocking does occur. Already we've had the 1 goal by Altona Magic being kicked against the Melbourne Knights at Thompson Stadium. Season really to forget for the Melbourne Knights. This will be the first time ever in their history that they'll be relegated down into the VPL 1 competition. They'll definitely use it as motivation going into the 2026 season. Football will be still in play. Either team at the moment has really shown any sign of properly attacking yet. So Essendon at the moment just struggling to break through. South doing a good job defensively at keeping Essendon at bay. But we know Essendon, once they do manage to break away, they do have a couple really good looks on in front of the goals. However, maybe South Melbourne could be disputing that. Westland tries to go with a kick forwards. South's up ahead now. Westland didn't quite time her kick from Panthazopoulos. Interesting to see how South can hold Essendon, because we know once Essendon does get up ahead of the football, they're definitely in for a chance. Taranto up ahead of the football. And once again to Westland. She's going to have her work cut out for her in the engine room. Going up and down that pitch, we'll see what impact she can make. Definitely been a star player for South all season long, Misha Westland. Really strong impact. A former Melbourne City player as well, back in 2021 and 2020. Played as well for Manly United in the NPL New South Wales. Played 12 games for Melbourne City. Played 21 games for Manly. Also played for Adelaide United as well for the Reds. Played 18 games for them. Scored 1 goal as well there as well. Joined South Melbourne in 2023. Last season, played in all 22 games. Had 4 goals as well. This time round, though, she's had 5 goals this season. Shows she's been up in her goal tally every single year. Her favourite goal definitely has to be way back at the beginning of the season when she had that unreal goal against Brunswick Juventus within the first minute of the goal, or within the first minute of the game, I should say. Kicked her from about halfway between the box and the halfway mark of the pitch. I was actually on the comms for that game. Couldn't quite believe it. Was the goal of the round as well, so well deservedly so for Misha Westland. We'll see what impact she can make. At the moment, though, we'll see who can break away first, and it might be Emma Lange for the Essendon Royals. A good piece of defending there by Alana Byrne. Alana Byrne, another key figure, was the goal scorer in that 1-0 victory against the Preston Lions here at Lakeside Stadium. Came right down to the wire in additional time, managing to put the header in, and boy, did the entire team get around her. Love to see. That teamwork component of football. The teammates getting around you, especially in a tough game that one was. No real indicator in that game as who was going to really walk away on top. It was a very even game. However, South just digging deep down, managing to get the win in that one. Board well outside of the box is Jurcic, the captain, Michaela Jurcic, for the Essendon Royals. The ball will be out of play here on this near side. Parkinson to throw it in here. She is from New South Wales, a former Maitland FC player in the Northern New South Wales competition. Now down here in Victoria. She had a very impressive 2024. Played in every single game, over 43 games for Maitland. She played a total of 1,717 minutes last year. Going to talk about longevity. She definitely had a whole bunch of it. Didn't manage to get on the bench whatsoever, so there is one player that's definitely came ready. You best believe it's Amy Parkinson. Here comes South. Antozopoulos is there as well. It will still be South's ball here, so what can South produce? Rocco had the touch back, the ball's cutting back in, an open goal square. And Essendon just managing to outnumber. And here comes South yet again. Taranto couldn't quite manage to find Pantazopoulos, who was ahead of the football there. Still 0-0 here, but good encouraging and positive signs for South Melbourne. They are starting to press up a lot. They definitely are going to like that. They really need to put the pressure here on Essendon Royals if they really do want to give themselves a chance. Last time, the first goal that was scored in that first encounter was scored in the 44th minute by Kobe Wilbert. So clearly, South could possibly get ahead of the board here and really shock Essendon. Maybe stun Essendon. We have seen it a couple times. Obviously last week, I think the most notable one being an immense competition when Melbourne Victory managed to get the 2-1 win over Hume City. No one really expected that one. Can South Melbourne here do the same against the Essendon Royals? It is very much possible the way that they are playing. They are controlling and dictating the tempo at the moment. We'll see if they can continue to do so. Expect Essendon to change up the way they do play. Again, they are a really smart side, Essendon. their ability to adapt to their opponents. That's why they are in the top 4 on the table at the moment. South to throw it in here yet again. All with Pantazopoulos. Pantazopoulos yet again. She's been trapped on that far side, being outnumbered. Essendon managed to squeak away with it momentarily. All being played here very heavily in the back third for South. Really struggling to push up. Essendon have really picked up the tempo here. Really making a statement in this one. Parkinson, the throw in. It was Jackson just tripping over a footing. Ball did manage to nick her heel on that play. Obviously the women's very different to the men's. Obviously the men's top 6 go through to the finals, and the women's it is only the top 4. And at the moment the way the finals is shaping up, it is very, very interesting. Not just for the women's, not just for the men's, but for the women's as well. Heidelberg United well up top. They are the premiers. They did manage to clinch that one last week. Box Hill, they're second. Doing a really, really good job this year. They have subtly just been chipping away at those points, managing to really solidify themselves in a really good spot this year. So watch out for Box Hill, especially in the finals. Bulleen Lions, as I mentioned previously. South taking them all the way to 3-3. A couple own goals in that one as well. And of course Essendon Royals at the moment currently in 4th. So those 4 teams are locked in the finals. However, the order can be very much changed between Box Hill, Bulleen and the Essendon Royals. They are all split by 2 points. Box Hill on 40 points, Bulleen on 39 and Essendon on 38. So these last 2 rounds are going to be very interesting to determine the order in which the finals will be played. Obviously, first place 4th and second place 3rd, and the way that it stands, Heidelberg will be playing the Essendon Royals and Box Hill will be playing Bulleen. And I'm not sure if I want to be Essendon going up against Heidelberg United with the way that they've been playing this year. However, I think South Melbourne show that they are human after managing to topple them in that Nike FC Cup final. Such a strong team that Heidelberg United are this year. How can you not talk about their main girl at the helm of the ship at the moment, Sawa Matsuda? Having a year she is, 17 goals. A season quite unlike any other she's having at the moment, so possibly the player of the year in my opinion, Sawa Matsuda. Along too with Oscar Miata. They had a massive transfer window as well, bringing a couple former A-League players in Sarah O'Donoghue, Tamar Levin, Isabel Wallhead, who's been a phenomenal piece in that back line. Finals race will definitely heat up. South ahead of the football here. Here's Taranto. Ran out of space. Tries to keep the ball in play. It's a one-on-one between the 2 ladies. And it will be South Melbourne's ball here. So South Melbourne at the moment are in a really good chance here to try and really put some pressure here on Essendon. Really try and shock them. We'll see if they can. Sun might play a factor, especially on this city end of the pitch. Obviously the sun coming just from the right of us, over our right shoulder. Yeah, Mano tried to cross that one in, couldn't quite manage to gain her balance on that shot. And it will still be South's ball here. So how can South try and really capitalise on this opportunity that they have up forward here? A goal for them will be really, really handy. Hasn't been the best of this second half of the season for South. They started off really, really well. We're right up in the top 3 in that first half of the season, and they just encountered a couple injuries, a couple injury woes, and it's crazy how a season can change just like that. However, have they got the will to try and topple this team here of the Essendon Royals? Taranto. Still with this one. She goes from one defender to the other there. It was Jurcic managing to close her out just in the nick of time. I did promise you that I was going to give you some updates around how all the other games are going. It is 1-1 between Avondale and Green Gully in the last round of the NPL men's competition. Green Gully were the first to score. Avondale with a very quick reply indeed. So 1-1 there. Bentley Greens have also scored the first against Alamein. That's been the only goal that has really happened in the NPL women's competition. So 1-0 between the Bentley Greens and Alamein. Still 0-0 here at Lakeside. And 0-0 between Brunswick and Preston. No other goals have happened in the men's as well, so right when I say that, Heidelberg United scoring the first one against the Port Melbourne Sharks. Heidelberg United, they just need one more point to solidify their spot in the National Second Tier Australian Championship. They'll be kicking off in October here, but we'll get to that in a second here because Essendon might have a good opportunity here. They are a little bit outnumbered. Sasha Khoury was trying to tiptoe away through the pitch. But as I was saying, Heidelberg United, they just need one more point to ensure their spot in the National Second Tier in the Australian Championship. If they end up losing, if Port Melbourne Sharks somehow do the unthinkable, Dandenong Thunder need to win in order for them to be locked in into the Australian Championship. If they draw or lose, they will not qualify. Even if Heidelberg United does draw with Port Melbourne, they will still be in because they will have enough points that it will be practically impossible for Dandenong Thunder to fight back and get up over them. Obviously the fixture did get released as well in that Australian Championship. The first ever game will be kicking off here at Lakeside Stadium between South Melbourne and their sister club, Sydney Olympic. Sydney making the trip all the way down here at Lakeside Stadium. It'll be a phenomenal encounter here on Friday the 10th of October. We are counting down the days for when kickoff will officially get underway. Kickoff will be at 7 p.m. as well, so I'm sure you'd all would love to be there. Atmosphere will be electric, to say the least. As I was talking about Heidelberg United, Dandenong Thunder playing Preston Lions at the moment. Preston, who are already in the Australian Championship. Can they try and topple Dandenong Thunder, who have been very, very impressive? We'll have to wait and find out when we will, again, provide you with updates as the game does go on. And also, South Melbourne men's at the moment currently playing against the Oakley Cannons at Jack Edwards Reserve. And the Oakley Cannons just kicked the first goal in that one. So 1-0 between Oakley and the South Melbourne men's team. So at the moment, both of these two teams definitely settled into this contest here, but no real indicator between these two as who really has the upper hand. South have had quite the number of opportunities up forward. Essendon have really struggled to break through the back third of South Melbourne. Really doing a really good job. Here's Goodsmith. Eva Goodsmith, the former FV Academy player. Now also playing for South Melbourne. She was a lifelong South Melbourne fan. Now she's playing in the blue and white outfit. Also a former junior Matilda back in 2022. So quite the CV she has. 18 years of age as well, so a whole career ahead of her. South going to go forwards again. And nothing to be on that occasion. So here's Goodsmith again. What can she provide? It's out forward. We got Zara Board, who's well outside the box here. South could have a boot from well beyond range here. I don't think Zara Board would have been there, but she managed to just get back in goal in the nick of time. South have the numbers ahead of the football here. Rako going to go forwards to Taranto. Taranto thought about going for a kick here, and a shot inside the box for Misha Westland. Denied on that occasion, but promising signs here for South Melbourne, though you would have very much expected this type of game style to be played by Essendon. But instead, South are really flipping this game on its head right now. I'm sure Essendon really didn't expect this one. South controlling a lot of the game right now. So if you are a South fan watching this right now, you've got to be loving what you're seeing at the moment. In the meantime as well, we've had two quick goals that have been kicked by Altona Magic against the Melbourne Knights. 3-0 at Thompson Stadium. However, we could have a first goal here at Lakeside Stadium, well ahead of the football, dinking off the sidebar, and the first goal going in there for Olivia Wood. That is her fourth goal of the season for Essendon, and the first goal of this one coming 29 minutes into this first half, and Essendon are the first to bite. So after South really did retain a lot of the possession in that first half, really took Essendon by surprise, that's Essendon's ability, is to just utilize one small little mishap, and that one mishap happening in that back third. Waiting a little bit too long with the football, and Essendon having a clear shot in front of goal here. Could they be going for a second? And the answer is no. So Olivia Wood with the first one of this game. She is a prolific striker. Joined the mid-season transfer from Perth Glory and most recently Perth Red Star as well in the NPL Western Australian competition. She scored 14 goals in 2024 for Perth Red Star, now adding 4 goals here in the NPL Victorian competition for the Essendon Royals. So not a bad season for her coming into that mid-season transfer. So a good start for Essendon. Really managed to weather the storm that South had up ahead of the football. However, Essendon were persistent. They were persistent not to really concede any of the real opportunities that South had, not really give them any clear ones. South really had to fight for them. And instead, Essendon stayed in there, and as you're looking at on the scoreboard now, it is a 1-0 lead for Essendon. Very similar signs for the past couple encounters that they've had. South, again, they have only had one win in their history. That came back on the 27th of June 1999 when they had a 4-2 victory against the Essendon Royals. They haven't really managed to really contest for a win ever since. So we'll see what South can provide. Here's Goodsmith. Great control on the football. Working it back to Alana Byrne. Back off to Esposito. Good to see Christina Esposito back in the lineup as well. Should be kicking herself that she couldn't quite manage to save that one. She really did put up a good effort. However, I mean, the ball dinking off of the sidebar. I was going to say crossbar for a second there, but I really had to stop myself. Could this be another opportunity here for Olivia Wood? She's pressing up. And Christina Esposito just grabbing the football there in the nick of time. Could have almost been on the verge there of a 2-0 Essendon Royals lead. And we have an offside call here for South Melbourne. So far, been a pretty clean game here. No real cautions, and our referee Jackson Trundle really hasn't had to signal for anything major here at the moment. Been a very, very clean game, which is good. Shout out once again to all our officiating staff. Referee Jackson Trundle, assistant referee number 1, Helena Paniotidis, assistant referee number 2, Labrina Uliaris, and our 4th official, Nicoletta Soteropoulos. They are running the show. So the ball going to be put back into play. And it will be out of play, and it still will be Essendon's football here. So both of these sides just going to trade kicks. South, however, they might be looking promising here. Here's Pantazopoulos going to her right. She's going to have a kick from well beyond the box. Couldn't quite manage to really lace that one any harder. A very tough contest it was indeed there. Couldn't quite make anything out of that one. So at the moment, South just living to fight another day here. Curry getting the tap all the way back off to Haffenden. Playing that ball up to Tyler Vlanic. Could this be a chance here? Here's Racco. Plays it off forwards. What can be made of this opportunity? Nothing quite on that occasion. Just seems to be at the moment that final finishing touch that South are putting. They're building up the sequence of play really well, but it just seems to be that final finishing touch that just don't quite have the numbers or an extra player up ahead of the football to really look to try and press on in front of goals. That seems to be really what's bothering them at the moment. Essendon are a smart team, so they can definitely sense when South are going to attack. Definitely done their film study on them, that's for sure. However, could this be a chance here for South? And once again denied. So a good piece of defending there by the defense of Essendon. It's Amy Parkinson who's doing a phenomenal job in that back third. But here is another opportunity for Essendon, who's going to kick it. And Olivia Wood was in there. Couldn't quite get the finishing touches, was Emma Lange. Tripped over a footing, so It was all in the air for Christina Esposito. Glad you could be with us here on this beautiful, picturesque Saturday, no matter where you are tuning in and watching this football game. If you are here in Victoria or interstate or maybe even internationally, shout out to you. So Parkinson to head of that one out of play. And South going to start pushing up here. In the meantime, the maintenance cleaning room has arrived here at Lakeside Stadium. So shout out to all the hard-working cleaners that maintain Lakeside Stadium here. It is quite the facility, so it does need some maintenance. So shout out to all the hard-working people behind the scenes managing to get everything prepared before each and every single game day and kickoff. I'm sure they'd be working tirelessly throughout the next couple months or so, really getting this place ready for the Australian Championship. Along too for finals as well. It was announced that the finals for the NPL men's season will be conducted here at Lakeside Stadium. The women's being conducted at the home of the Matildas. Be very exciting to see who does make it through to the finals. So many teams that can really punch their ticket and really bid for that final spot. In the men's, it's pretty wide open. But, I mean, it's pretty hard to go past Heidelberg United and Avondale. The two best NPL teams, not only in Victoria, but dare I say it, in the country. Both are through to the semi-finals of the Australia Cup. Heidelberg United managing to get a couple very impressive cup sets in the Australia Cup last week. It was the biggest win ever recorded against an A-League side, 3-0 against the Western Sydney Wanderers. And they only managed to break that record only 1 week later, managing to beat Wellington Phoenix 4-0 at home. Had quite a successful tenure at Olympic Village they've had. Johnny Anastasiadis definitely must be proud of them and his playing group for the way they've managed to really produce a couple of very impressive victories against some top quality A-League competition. It's actually a funny story that ended up getting posted by Anthony Lesiotis on his Instagram page. Put on his Instagram story the Australia Cup post of them getting the win, and he also put a caption, not bad for a couple panel beaters as well, so not bad for them. But here's Essendon in transition. We'll hold on to that thought for a second. Lange tries to cross it in and ricocheting off the defence. So Heidelberg are in beautiful position, and then Avondale as well. I mean, how can you not talk about Avondale? Got a 3-1 victory against their Italian sister club, APLWVIC at Green Gully last week, and then a 6-2 thumping over Brisbane City at Green Gully Reserve on a Wednesday night. A very, very impressive victory it was by them. There's a corner here, though, for the Essendon. Goodsmith managing to kick it away. Parkinson tries to give it a boot from around the back. What can Essendon do here? I'm sure they'd love to get another one, and not quite there. I think this might be the first time ever that we could be on the verge of a all-NPL final in the Australia Cup. Never has it happened before, and we might very much be on the verge of seeing it again. South Melbourne, they ended up getting to the semi-finals last year, going down to MacArthur, who went on to win it. At the moment, though, hasn't been the best of seasons for South Melbourne. However, Heidelberg and Avondale, they're definitely in it, but so too is Essendon at the moment, and not quite there. So Heidelberg United await the winner of Sydney FC and Auckland. And then Avondale, they await the winner of the Newcastle Jets and the reigning Australia Cup champions MacArthur. You want to talk about former South Melbourne players? How about Harrison Sawyer? Former striker for South Melbourne. Very, very impressive season he had last year. Being picked off to MacArthur. This could be a chance here for Essendon. However, not quite. Who's the next player we could see make the jump and be recruited off into the A-Leagues? And a beautiful piece of defending there was by Annabelle Haffenden. A couple of the names that are really making their bids on that. Bull Jawach, having a phenomenal season. He is already having a combined 20 goals this year from his Australia Cup goals, along too with his regular season ones in the NPL. Manny Agwek, obviously, another really impressive name. Luca Tavir. Anthony Lesiotis, former Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory player. Asai Yokakara as well. But nevertheless, though, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the Australia Cup does unfold. If we do manage to get an all-NPL final, what an outing that'll be. Really put the benchmark on the fact that the NPL competition has really bridged the gap to the A-Leagues. Very hard to say that there is any real difference between the two, especially now at least with the way that Heidelberg managed to dismantle both Western Sydney and Wellington. So Essendon have this one in the middle of the park here, managing to progress it to a wide open Emma Langley, who's got all the time and the space in the world. Going to progress it up to Olivia Wood, who ran straight into Eva Goodsmith. However, nothing was made of that one. No penalty whatsoever there. Jackson Trundle clearly seeing that one well enough to know that one wasn't anywhere near a penalty. Good piece of defending there by Eva Goodsmith. So as we are slowly dying down towards half-time, if you are a South Melbourne fan, and if you are in the playing group here for South, you should definitely be proud of this effort here. They have held Essendon to only just the one goal, but they have pretty much dominated this first half with the way that they've played. Had majority of the possession here. We'll see if they can continue this form going into the second half. And 1 minute of additional time to be played here at Lakeside before we go into half-time, signalled by our fourth official. Been a very clean first half it has here at Lakeside. Isabella Racco couldn't quite fight with the possession there. So the ball's going to go forward here. What can Essendon make do? Could this be one last roll of the dice here? I'm sure they'd love to go into the half 2-0. Beautiful piece of defending there by Alana Byrne. Had her feet right in the middle. And a wide open goal. Can't quite be made of anything on that occasion by Emma Langley. However, that will be the whistle by Jackson Trundle. And that will signal half-time here at Lakeside Stadium. And a very, very close first half indeed by both of these two teams. South Melbourne, they were pretty much in it the entirety of that first half. However, usually in football, all it takes is the one opportunity and one little mishap that happened in that back third. And it was Olivia Wood who managed to capitalise on it and produce the first goal of this game. And as we go into half-time here at Lakeside Stadium, it is South Melbourne 0, Essendon Royals 1.
Let's go!
Well, welcome back, everybody, to a picture-perfect Lakeside Stadium here for second half action here in the NPL Women's Competition, round 19, between South Melbourne and the Essendon Royals. Second half action about to get underway here between these two sides. It was a goal in the first half by Olivia Wood for the Essendon Royals after a little mishap in the back third for South Melbourne that allowed Olivia Wood and the Essendon Royals to capitalise with it. So we'll see how this second half does unfold for these two sides. It'll be interesting to see how South Melbourne can try and respond, considering they did have quite a lot of the possession in that first half in their favour. Let's see what they can provide. We've got Zara aboard as well, who's wearing a hat on that side, or on that end of the pitch, shall we say, on the lake end of this Lakeside Stadium here. Considering the sun is just over our right shoulder here. So already we might see South looking to try and attack and really put one back up above South. And not meant to be. In the meantime as well, we have had a substitution for this second half for the Essendon Royals. Off came Devon Jackson, and on is number 18, Grace Ma. So Grace Ma, watch out for her. Some fresh set of legs to start this second half in the engine room for the Essendon Royals. Let's see what kind of impact she can make. Grace Ma from Canberra. She had joined at the mid-season transfer from Adelaide United's A-League women's squad. She spent a lot of her time last year training a lot by herself, and when she did get caught up, it was somewhat of a no-brainer decision for her to come into the squad and join Essendon. In her time since joining, she has played in all 5 games and scored 3 goals as well, so I'm sure she'd love to get on the board as well, especially in this one. And here she is right on cue. She's going to take this corner here, the first corner for Essendon of this second half. Normally here at Lakeside, this end, this city end, right where this heritage listed clubhouse is, this is normally the scoring end for both the women's and the men's sides. But I mean, as of late, kind of has switched around to the other end of the pitch. How can you not forget about that incredible goal that Max Mikola had, that bicycle kick here against the Preston Lions, giving them that 2-1 victory here at Lakeside. Incredible atmosphere it was between both the Macedonian and Greek fans. The beautiful part about this NPL competition is seeing all the communities and cultures coming together. Such deep in heritage. So Bresciano, she was quite quiet in that first half. Didn't quite have much action, and a ball from well beyond range there. Almost went in by Kendra Smith, the New Zealander. Absolutely let that one go from well beyond range there. That would have been something had that one gone in. It was travelling well. Christina Esposito only just managing to get her hands on the football, not allow that one to go in the back. Good piece of goalkeeping there. Definitely had her work cut out for her in that first half, Christina Esposito, especially towards the end of that first half. Here we've got another corner coming up here for Essendon. Ball's going to be up. Once again, it's Kendra Smith. This time, though, not quite successful compared to the previous occasion, letting that one go all the way. And someone's going to have to be entrusted with that job of going to fetch that one, because that one's gone right over where the grass area is. So good luck trying to find that one, whoever's in charge and responsible of that duty. So we'll give you some updates as well of some of the other scores that are happening around in the NPL women's competition while we get a chance. It is still 1-0 between the Bentley Greens and Alamein. No goal has really been kicked nor conceded in that one, and still 1-0 here at Lakeside Stadium. It also remains 0-0 between Brunswick Juventus and the Preston Lions. In the NPL men's, however, it has been a whole mirage of goals, really, that are really deciding how this season is going to play out. At the moment, Dandenong City just kicked the third goal against Melbourne Victory. They lead that one 3-0. A win for them would solidify them in the top 6, making them and giving them the opportunity to play finals for the second year in a row. However, Hume City, who are fighting at the moment as well for that last 6th spot, who have kind of really been holding on to that 6th spot all season long. I'm sure they'd love to also finish in the top 6 and play finals, considering they also played finals last season as well. It's also 3-0 between the Altona Magic and the Melbourne Knights. 1-0 between the Oakley Cannons and South Melbourne at Jack Edwards Reserve. South Melbourne are down to 10 men in that one. A red card was awarded to Harvey Lopez, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Don't get me wrong on it. 2-1 is the lead between Port Melbourne and Heidelberg United. So a very, very impressive outing by Port Melbourne indeed, happening at JL Murphy Reserve, not too far from here actually at Lakeside Stadium. 2-0 lead for the Preston Lions against Dandenong Thunder. It's a 1-0 lead between Hume City and St Albans. And also a 1-0, it's also still 1-1 between Avondale and Green Gully. Again, we'll keep on updating you if anything does happen, but we might have a potential goal happening here between these two sides. South Melbourne are definitely looking at you here, really pressed up, and have really started to put the pressure here on Essendon. What can they make do here? Here's Goodsmith. Beautiful touch off to Sandu. Sandu's been relatively quiet, hasn't had too much possessions in that first half. Ball's going to be played out from Goodsmith to Iamano. The captain, Francesca Iamano. Nothing on that occasion. Francesca Iamano, previously playing for FV Academy, Baleen Lions and South Melbourne. Also played for Melbourne Victory's A-League team. She was on squad injury replacement contract there. Played for only 3 games. Joined South Melbourne back in 2022. Has been here ever since. Last year, played 21 games, scored 1 goal in her 2024 campaign. The captain, Francesca Iamano, her 180th NPL women's game unfolding out here this afternoon. And we have an offside call by our assistant referee. In the meantime as well, the Melbourne Knights have kicked their first goal against Altona Magic. 3-1 is the scoreline between the Melbourne Knights and Altona Magic. And here could be another opportunity here for Essendon. Olivia Wood playing a little bit of a header to her teammate. Nothing made of that occasion. Emma Langley, there was contact between herself and Westland. Referee Jackson Trundle wasn't going to call that one for anything there. Racco couldn't quite make anything there, and it will still be South Melbourne's football here. So a free kick here to be taken by Alana Byrne. Going to go straight down forwards off to Misha Westland. Denied. 'Denied' on that attempt. 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 ' Pantazopoulos. Back off. Plays it Iamano. What can Iamano make do here? Westland. Going to work its way back off to Goodsmith in the engine room. Back out to Vlainic. Tyler Vlainic. Plays it back. Tried to go off to Taranto. Couldn't quite manage to progress up the pitch in time. And nothing to be there for South Melbourne. So a good piece of defending there by Essendon. So the ball going to be cleared out from one side of the pitch to the other. A little bit of a slippage there on that far side for Sasha Curry. And nothing made there as well. You can see our fourth official there slowly getting ready for another substitution to be coming on. Not quite yet, but we'll keep you updated about that one. So here's Sandu. Back off to Byrne. Goodsmith was there. Could this be a chance here for Essendon? They're up out of the football here. Could this be? And denied on that occasion, but Essendon looked promising. Very, very promising indeed, and really, really good signs there. Grace Ma managing to tip that ball right up through and really give a good little attacking opportunity there for Essendon, but it wasn't meant to be on that occasion. Both of these two teams just right now tit for tat at the moment. No real indicator in this second half as to who really is going to be the aggressor. I can see on the bench right now at the moment though, Olivia Edwards is getting ready to check into this game. And as she looks to be replacing Alana Byrne, which looks to be signalled on the fourth officials board. And we'll make that one official. Olivia Edwards is coming on for Alana Byrne. And make that 2. As we have Olivia Bomford coming on for Akisha Sandu. So 2 more substitutions coming in for South Melbourne here. Olivia Bomford and Olivia Edwards. Both the Olivias coming on. We'll see what Olivia Squared can provide. So Essendon have a good little attack here in front and a good save there by Christina Esposito. Olivia Edwards from Tasmania, played in 2023 for the Preston Lions. Spent last year at Heidelberg United, played in 21 games, and now part of the South Melbourne outfit. And then Olivia Bomford, also from Tasmania, both of them from Tasmania, funnily enough. Olivia Bomford spent last year being the captain of the Bentley Greens. Played in 22 games, scored 10 goals last year. This time around this year, hasn't quite been able to replicate the amount of goals that she would like compared to last season. Only been contained to just 4 goals this year. However, watch out for Olivia Bomford once she really does get ahead of the football. You never know what you might get with her, and especially when she is in a clear space and clear air, she's definitely one to watch out for. She can definitely be lethal up front. So beautiful little interception of play there for Vlajnic. And that one will be kicked out of play there by Misha Westland. Glad you could be with us, no matter where you might be watching. If you are watching in Victoria or maybe domestically, interstate, maybe even if you are tuning in internationally, you never know. Thanks very much for tuning in and watching. We'll see if this matchup can get any more spicy up, especially with a couple substitutions that have come in. Speaking of which, Edwards tried to kick it forwards off to the other sub that just came on, Olivia Bomford. Grace Taranto, another player who's really had a game here this afternoon. Definitely hasn't shied away from any opportunities ahead of the football. She's had her fair share of moments up front, just hasn't really been able to capitalise on any. Essendon have managed to really pin her down and not allow her to attack. This is a little bit of a derby game for Tyler Vlajnic, because she is a former Essendon Royals player. Did play for Essendon Royals last year. Played in 14 games in the red and white. Had a total of 4 goals as well. So a little bit of a derby game for her out here. So watch out for her if she can really make some inroads in this game. Another little derby game is for Zara Board in goal. She was a former South Melbourne player in 2023 before she progressed and made her way off to Kaiser University, where she ended up playing 19 games, had 7 clean sheets, ended up having 52 saves that year. Also had a career high 8 saves in the NAIA quarterfinal against the top-seeded William Carey University. So definitely one to watch out for her. And another substitution coming in here. This time it'll be Renee Pocock coming on for Alana Cerny. Renee Pocock from Victoria. Former Bulleen Lions player, spent her last 3 years in their junior setup after previously playing for Calder United. She had 3 appearances in 2023 for Bulleen. However, did spend the entirety of 2024 playing in the club's under-20 side. She is still young, 19 years of age. So again, another one of those players that has a whole future, very bright future indeed, still ahead of her. So we'll see what she can do. See how she can impact this football game for Essendon. Goodsmith with a header forwards. And here's Grace Taranto ahead of the football here. Could she try and equalise it here? Can't quite connect with the football well enough. And it will be Zara Board's ball. So 14 degrees here at Lakeside Stadium here in Melbourne. It is beautiful conditions indeed. Perfect afternoon of football. It's the last round of the NPL men's competition. Still one more round to go next week for the NPL women's to conclude their season before they head on into finals. In the meantime, the Oakley Cannons managed to kick the second goal against the South Melbourne men's squad. It is 2-0 in that contest at Jack Edwards Reserve against South Melbourne, going down to just 10 men. So a tough day in the office for South Melbourne indeed. Not desirable for them whatsoever. It was Joe Guest who kicked the first and Cameron McGilp who kicked the second. And it was Harvey Lopez, if I'm not mistaken, who did get the red card in that game for South Melbourne. Arguably South Melbourne's best player. However, what can this South Melbourne women's team muster up here? They have been very, very convincing here this afternoon with the way that they've played. They haven't allowed Essendon to really dominate them. Considering the last time out that they played, it was Essendon that was really all over South. They really had their number across the entire game. Here's Pantazopoulos trying to put some pressure ahead of Zara Board. Haffenden. Going to clear it out to Misha Westland, and not quite there on that occasion. So a couple more substitutions coming in here. That'll be Isabel Rakos Day done and dusted. She'll be replaced by Raquel Delares. And the other one, Pantazopoulos, that'll be her day done and dusted as well. A couple fresh substitutions coming in here in this one. Heidi Dalton will replace her. So Heidi Dalton into the game, along too with Raquel Delares. No Nikki Furukawa in the lineup for South Melbourne this week. She was completely ruled out. Pre-game, we saw her. She did have crutches on. So hopefully she is all right. Here's Olivia Bomford. And the play was called well before Olivia Bomford could really have a clear shot on goal. So we'll see if these new substitutions for South Melbourne can really help them in this game. They have kind of struggled with the finishing touches when they have been up in their final third. Let's see what they can do. I'm sure they'd love to get a goal on the scoreboard, provide the equalizer, really put some pressure on Essendon. I'm sure Essendon would love to also kick a goal as well. In the meantime as well, Altona Magic, they've gone up 4-1 against the Melbourne Knights at Thomsett Stadium. No other goals have really happened in the men's competition. We'll also update you on the women's competition. Alamein have scored the equalizer, 1-1 between Alamein and the Bentley Greens. Still 1-0 here between South Melbourne and Essendon, and it's still 0-0 between Brunswick Juventus and the Preston Lions. Still to come tomorrow. Sorry, still to come later on will be FV Academy and the Boroondara Carry Eagles. And we are 7 minutes into the game between Heidelberg United and the Bulleen Lions. However, our attention is focused here at Lakeside Stadium. South Melbourne completely out of the finals picture. Essendon still in it. However, what can South Melbourne do to try and spoil the party here for Essendon? Box Hill, Bulleen Lions and Essendon only separated by 2 points between them. Box Hill sitting on 40 points. Bulleen sitting on 39 and Essendon on 38. So this is a big round along too with next week, the final round. It will really determine the final finishing order on how the finals will look like. Obviously, first will play fourth. Second will play third in the finals. The way that things stand, if the season was to finish now, will be Heidelberg United They will take on Essendon Royals, and Box Hill United, they'll take on the Bulleen Lions if play was to finish right now. But of course, we still have one game of football left to play between those teams who haven't quite yet started. However, we'll see what Essendon can make do of this opportunity. Bomford tries to play it off to Westland. Back off to Vlajnic. Vlajnic, who has had quite a good game here thus far and can't quite get connection inside the box, was Misha Westland. She's looking really promising this afternoon with the amount of shots that she's had. She does quite like to push up ahead of the football and really get a couple of good looks inside the box. So the ball going to be sent once again in Westland's direction. So here comes South Melbourne now, just slowly trying to tiptoe their way up the pitch. Ball just being played around with on that far side. Pretty even contest here thus far at Lakeside. No real team have looked to be ahead of one another. Both of these two sides have done a relatively good job at reading each other's play. Obviously, we did have that one goal by Olivia Wood that did happen by a little bit of a mishap in the back third. Managing to capitalise. Alana Byrne couldn't quite manage to connect her pass. Took a little bit too long to pass it off. And instead, it was Olivia Wood who managed to just pick off the pass and managed to dink the ball off the sidebar into the goal. And that's been the only real proper look that both of these two teams have really had in this ball game. I mean, the last time out the South Melbourne played, back in round 10 against Essendon, South had 5 shots, 3 of which were on target. Essendon had 13, 11 of which were on target. Those numbers are significantly down in this one. It has definitely been a midfield battle, along too with in the back third. Ball hasn't really progressed any further up than that. Parkinson. She's going to play it back. Ball's with Ma. Going to play it back off once again to Parkinson, who had quite a bit of a field day in that first half. Had a really strong outing. Can she try and replicate it here in this second? Ball's going to be kicked forwards and denied on that occasion. So we are closing in to about 16 or so minutes of play here at Lakeside between these two teams. Who will walk away with the points is the question. Again, South, they're completely out of the finals picture. Essendon still fighting for it. A lot on the line for Essendon to really determine the finishing order of everything. Again, Box Hill did get a 1-0 win against Spring Hills last night. In the meantime, as well, Heidelberg United have equalised the game against Port Melbourne Sharks at JL Murphy Reserve, which isn't too far from Lakeside Stadium. 2-2 is the scoreline. And it's also 2-1, a goal that was kicked for Avondale. They lead that game 2-1 against Green Gully. However, this could be a shot here for Olivia Bomford. She's going to let it go. And finally, South Melbourne get their first of this one. They were hunting for it for quite some time. And Olivia Bomford, her 5th goal of the season, and the equalizer against the Essendon Royals is here. The substitution coming on, along too with the other Olivia Edwards coming on. And I had a feeling one of the two Olivias were really going to make an impact, and it's Olivia Bomford making her staple on this ball game. So the equalizer is here. And we now have a ball game here, folks. Essendon now, they're definitely going to be under the pump here. Again, they are still in finals, as I have mentioned, and if it comes down to points, if they possibly can't walk away here with the 3 points here, and if they do end up drawing with South Melbourne here, could that possibly affect their finals picture with the way that we are slowly winding down? Or can they respond? We are well and truly within the last 15 minutes here at Lakeside. This is a game that has been very much controlled by South Melbourne, in my opinion. The way that South Melbourne have played in the midfield, managing to utilise players such as Misha Westland, Eva Goodsmith, who's also been in and around the pitch. Definitely have caught Essendon Royals by surprise. So with that, that is the equaliser, 1 apiece. And things just start to get a little bit more interesting now. Which one of these two can really capitalise? Now it's all down to South Melbourne. The momentum of this game is completely in their favour. Smith with the chest control. Back off to Jurcic. Progressing it off to Wood. And at the moment, no real indicator at where some of these passes are going for Essendon at the moment. They just some of the passes seem to be kind of forced in a way. They kind of just seem to be forcing the matter at the moment, really kicking the ball, and wherever it's going is wherever the ball's ending up right now. There's no real intention on how they're wanting to play. All right, when I say that, Olivia Bomford kicks it straight into the back of Bresciano. Here's Goodsmith. Plays it back off to Haffenden. Haffenden, who's had a pretty good game in that back third for South. She has for quite some time. Former Alamein player. Also previously played for Adelaide United and Brisbane Roar, did Annabelle Haffenden. Also having a brief stint at Alamein towards the end of 2024. She was recognised as well on the national team selection for the Young Matildas. Also ended up moving to play in Sweden, funnily enough, for Vaxio DFF. So could this be another opportunity here? Bomford just tries to tap it forwards. Westland's up there. And really encouraging signs for South now. They've definitely started to apply a whole heap of pressure on this defense of Essendon. And I don't think Essendon are really ready for it at the moment. They were ready in that first half quite a lot, but seems that the intensity has really slacked down for the Royals. South have managed to find another gear. Can they keep this up for the next 10 or so minutes is the question. Obviously additional time will play a factor in this one as well. Only had 1 minute of additional time to complete that first half here. It has been a very clean game here thus far. You just hear some of the players out there on the pitch shouting, keep going, keep going. You can tell how much this means to them here. Somewhat of a dead rubber here for South Melbourne, because they aren't in that chase for finals any longer. They already accomplished their best of the season, which was getting their first ever Nike FC Cup. Managing to add to the men's as well. And one last substitution coming in this time will be Olivia Dostevsky coming in for Alessia Bresciano. The last substitution here, you'd think, for Essendon. Olivia Dostevsky plays for the under-20s squad for Essendon. Had a breakout season last year, had 16 appearances plus a goal. Debuted in this NPL side against Calder United and scored back in round 2 as well. Has been a key figure in the team for quite some time. She's also gained valuable experience from players such as TJ Vlanic and Julia Sardo, plus highly experienced knowledge from Mary Rampel. Last year, as I mentioned, 16 games along with a goal. Olivia Dostevsky. Boy, there are a couple of Olivias out there. 4 of them. Olivia Edwards, Olivia Wood, Olivia Bomford, and now Olivia Dostevsky. Just imagine putting all 4 of them in a room together. Walking in and saying, hey, Olivia, all 4 of them turned their head. You're not going to know who you're talking to. It has been quite some afternoon here at Lakeside, might we add. Especially right around the grounds in Victoria. There has been quite the goals that are scored in the NPL men's competition. Speak about the South Melbourne men's team who have gone down to 10 men. It is now 3-0. The Oakley Cannons leading that one. The rematch of the grand final. A 3-0 lead for the Oakley Cannons at Jack Edwards Reserve. It is 5-1 for the Altona Magic against the Melbourne Knights. 2-0 is the scoreline between Hume City and St Albans Dynamo. Scoreline still remains 2-2 between Heidelberg United and the Port Melbourne Sharks. And it's still 2-1 between Avondale and Green Gully. Also still 2-0 between Preston and Dandenong. Dandenong Thunder. And still 3-0 between Dandenong City and Melbourne Victory. So the corner was just overplayed a little bit there by Olivia Bomford. And one last substitution coming on here for South Melbourne. It'll be Joanna Zoas making her way on. And that'll be Misha Westland's day done and dusted, the midfielder. On will come Joanna Zoas making her debut here in the NPL women's competition. We'll see what kind of impact she can make here in this one. Can she add to another goal? And really put South in a very good position to where they are. Get ready as well, folks, because I've just seen one of the Essendon Royals coaching staff hand the substitution paper over to our 4th official, so expect another substitution coming on for Essendon. However, we do have a free kick coming here for South Melbourne. Could this be an opportunity? The ball is played. Zara Port couldn't quite make anything of it, and there it is. And look at the celebration, and it is Raquel Delares giving South Melbourne the lead here at Lakeside. 2-1 is the scoreline, and her 4th goal of the season, Raquel Delares. And completely shocking and turning this game on its head right now. And this is one that Essendon definitely didn't expect. So how can Essendon reply here? Wood couldn't quite manage to get anything of that. And you can just tell the intensity is picked up here by Essendon. You can tell how much they want this one. Will it be enough, though? Have they got enough time left? 5 minutes is on the clock. However, they haven't kicked a goal since that first half where it was a little mishap by Alana Byrne. Olivia Wood managing to capitalise on that opportunity. So we'll see if it can be another opportunity. Here's Heidi Dalton, the former FV Academy player, now in the blue and white. And not quite there on that occasion is meant to be. However, it was looking very, very promising indeed. And we have a couple substitutions getting ready, 2 of which are getting ready to hit the pitch at the moment for the Essendon Royals. They're on standby. So the 2 substitutions have come on. Olivia Wood's day is done and dusted. On will come Emily Harbis to replace her. And along too with Betty Michael. She'll be on this time round. However, could this be a chance here for Emma Langley to try and equalise this game? Ooh, and a very close one indeed. That one was almost, could have resulted in an own goal, that one, for South. And that's the last thing they want, considering how strong of an outing this has been for them. So closing into about the last under 2.5 minutes to play here. South Melbourne are in a prime position at the moment to close out this one. However, Essendon in that never say die. What can they do of it? Here's Zoas. Joanna Zoas making her debut here. Goodsmith plays it off to Taranto, who has Rostevsky for company. Taranto again, once again with that never say die attitude. Here's Joanna Zoas going to try and cross it in for Raquel Delaras. That ball will just cross over the line. And we are going to have a free kick coming up here for South Melbourne. So both the hands go up. Bomford. Can she get it? And it hits the roof of the netting there, Olivia Bomford. It was looking like it was going to be a possible Olympico with the way that it was swirling back, but just had a little bit too much hang time in the air. What a game it's been here thus far. South Melbourne with that never say die attitude, just like in the Nike FC Cup final. It is very much shades of it. However, I don't think this one will be needing penalties to resolve this one. They're in prime position at the moment. To try and seal the 3 points. They've definitely left a lot of it out on the line here. And rightfully so with the way that they've played. And for the South Melbourne men's, that will be their season done and dusted. It is full-time at Jack Edwards. The squad that went down to 10 men. And their final game at Jack Edwards resulting in a 3-0 defeat in a grand final rematch to their rivals, the Oakley Cannons. was a tough first half of the season for South. Really struggled. Couldn't quite make anything of it. Fired their head coach Esteban Quintas, and while it definitely has been a very positive inclusion of Sunisia Kohazdic at the head of the ship, however, this South Melbourne women's side might have what it takes, and Heidi Dalton going over Zara Board. And in the meantime, we have had 4 additional minutes of additional time here at Lakeside before we complete proceedings. So it was 3 goals for the Oakley Cannons. One, the first by Joe Guest, then by Cameron McGilp, and then welcoming back in their key striker, Alex Salmon, just before finals, kicking that last goal against the South Melbourne men's team. What a season it has been, though. South Melbourne, they can now turn their gear and look at the Australian Championship, which will be taking place a little bit later on this year. Kickoff will take place here at Lakeside Stadium against their sister club, Sydney Olympic. Kickoff will be on Friday, the 10th of October at 7 p.m. right here at Lakeside Stadium. You're not going to want to miss that one. That one will be fireworks. You best believe that. Maybe South Melbourne might have put themselves in the headache that they had this season, maybe saving themselves for the national second tier. You just never know what will happen. So a good little outing here this afternoon by this South Melbourne women's team. Definitely controlled the tempo all afternoon. Haven't really put any real major things, haven't really gone that badly for them. Obviously just the little mishap by Alana Byrne, but apart from that, they've had a really solid outing here. They might be able to topple it and maybe possibly go for another one, but instead it wasn't anything on that occasion there, and it still will be South Melbourne's ball here. Lares, who's got Ostevsky for company. Couldn't quite manage to shake her off. Here's Goodsmith. Still managing to juggle it. And it will be Essendon's ball here. So could this be possibly the last roll of the dice here for Essendon? Iamano getting straight in front of the line of the ball there. And South just going to take their time here to slowly conclude proceedings. Delares. Not made to be on that occasion there. Essendon. Can they go for it once again? Is there enough time on the clock for them to keep going? Or is South just going to have to dig down deep and put the finishing touches themselves? Taranto, who's been phenomenal here this afternoon, had such a great outing. And Bomford, the latest goal scorer. Plays it back off to the other Olivia, this time Edwards. Here's Dalton, tries to play it forwards. And that will be full time here. And the icing on the cake for South Melbourne, after not the greatest year for them, they manage to topple the Essendon Royals at home here at Lakeside Stadium after the first one being conceded It was Olivia Wood for the Essendon Royals who put the first one in. And well, it was South Melbourne who managed to reply in quite the fashion indeed here this afternoon. It is South Melbourne who are going to walk away with the 3 points here, and the finishing touches were made by Olivia Bomford. And that will be full time here at Lakeside Stadium. Glad you could be with us here. It is South Melbourne 2, Essendon Royals 1.